Peter, one of the people who took an awful lot of credit for this deal when it was first announced was Donald Trump, the incoming president. And there was a lot of saying, oh, well, this is, an early win for his foreign policy before he's even taken office. But if, as you say, and if it is as it looks like, this means that this all continues. There'll be another attempt at an October 7th down the road. Is there some other circuit breaker that maybe we're not seeing as part of this, some future idea about what happens to Gaza, a multinational force? Where does this go, or are we just stuck back where we started with, and Hamas says, hey, we may have lost tens of thousands of people here, but we're still considering this strategically a win?
So the circuit breaker that we mightn't have seen, James, is what did Trump agree to get Netanyahu over the line accepting the ceasefire? Did he agree, for example, to support Israel striking Iran, destroying their nuclear facilities so that Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon sometime in 2025? If that's the deal, I can see why Netanyahu would have signed up to it. There is a risk for Trump here, which is to say before even his inauguration, he's made a tactical mistake. He wanted to deliver what he said he was going to deliver during the presidential campaign, which was that hostages would be released. But I don't think any part of that calculation from Trump was to leave Hamas in power. So, there's a lot that remains to be worked out here, James. I think potentially Trump will be disappointed to find that Hamas is not a reliable negotiating partner. And that they're going to renege on the deal, that they're going to continue to be a threat. And what looks like a victory for Trump today is going to look like a defeat for Trump in 6 weeks' time when Hamas continues to be a problem. And then we may see the all hell break loose, which was the other half of Trump's promise for the Middle East. So there's a lot that I don't know, but I do think that, Trump tried to get a domestic political gain. He's got that kind of at a high price, and now we have to see what American policy in the Middle East looks like going forward.
But Peter, on that point, I know they haven't been confirmed yet, but various of his top nominees for his administration have all come out, and several of them had said Hamas will never be allowed to run the Gaza Strip. Hamas will never be allowed to stay in power. So I don't know if this is the second arm of Trump's deal, that we've got this 6-week period till the so-called phase 2. But Trump's administration are saying very, very clearly Hamas will not be allowed to remain in power and will be annihilated if necessary. And we've even had Netanyahu coming out today saying that I'll go back in and fight with American approval. So what do you make of all that?
So James, there are two things here which cannot be reconciled. One is negotiating with Hamas over the release of the hostages, which is what Trump's policy forced Netanyahu to do. The other is that Hamas can no longer lead Gaza. I can't see how these two things square. Hamas has not, I presume for its own account, engaged in a negotiation knowing that it's going to be the end of them politically. I guess my conclusion from that is that it's just a ceasefire. It's not a permanent peace deal. It can't be a permanent peace deal. The war continues. I wrote in The Australian a few days ago that in the Middle East, ceasefires are made to be broken. And I expect that's what's going to happen, because ultimately Israel will continue to keep fighting for its own survival. And so we come back to James's question: what was the deal? I think the deal must have been around America giving cover to Israel to prosecute its war against Iran. I think that's what we'll see in future.
Well, I agree with you 100%, Peter.
It looks, Peter, like I said, that the deal might already be in jeopardy, with Israel accusing Hamas of not even releasing the names, which was part of the agreement, apparently, that they had to release the names of the first 3 hostages that are going to be released by Hamas, and they haven't. So we'll see what happens there. But what's your response? We've seen people cheering on the streets in Gaza. We've seen promises to continue the resistance. Let's show people at home a little bit of the reaction to this ceasefire deal. from your perspective, Peter, this seems to be being celebrated as a victory on the Hamas side, on the Palestinian side.
Yes, that's right. And so we come down to the reality that Hamas's plan was always to accept military defeat in order to gain a political victory. And what Israel has done is that it's gained a military victory, but it's suffered a significant political defeat. That's the appalling nature of where we're at now. The truth is that there are majority support for Hamas still amongst Palestinians in Gaza. Hamas is going to treat this as a tremendous victory. This is going to cement what might have been its faltering political control over Gaza, and it's going to go down in Hamas propaganda as a tremendous achievement. Hamas is also a bad faith negotiator. I don't think we can be confident that the ceasefire is going to last 6 days, let alone 6 weeks. But the release of those hostages is going to traumatise Israel every day that a person is released. And I think that's also part of Hamas's objective. So I just come down to the tragedy that there is no lasting solution here. And I hope that Australia and other countries don't now read this as a signal to push money into Gaza, because all that means, under the guise of reconstruction, is that we're going to end up lining the pockets of Hamas leaders in Qatar and rearming Hamas. And so the fight continues.
Peter Jennings, brilliant insights there, and you're absolutely right. The money Australia's poured into the Palestinian side is reprehensible. Peter Jennings, great to chat to you as always. Thanks so much for coming on Outsiders, and we'll speak again soon.